Wow. Hello, everyone. Wow. That certainly was a game of football, wasn't it? What are we all thinking? Have you caught your breath yet? It's ended. Arsenal 4, Leicester City 2. Maybe that scoreline wouldn't have been that surprising, but of course it was 2-2 until the 93rd minute. Diego, I don't know what to say. Well, I tell you what, the person who is going to have something to say is you, Luke. I'm going to go with you. I'm going to show you some stats in the background, but tell me what you're thinking.
I'm salty because I kept trying to tell myself, like, curb your enthusiasm, Luke, in the back of my head, curb your enthusiasm. I mean, Mads making save after save after save, keeping us in that game that we had no business being in for as long as we did, thanks to that man. And it started getting towards, stoppage, just before stoppage time was announced. And I'm thinking, you know what? Can we please just, shit house this 1 point and get it? No, we have our hearts broken at the end.
I'll come on to you, Neil, but I mean, did we have our hearts broken? This XG is absolutely hilarious. 4 to 0.27. And here's, well, you could, I tell you what, tell your anecdote about Fantasy League and Mads Hermansen, Neil.
Well, I went to look because he's not in my team, but he's on my bench at the moment. And he got 4 points, 12 saves. Again, as Diego said, incredible. Diego, if you want to join, mate, again, and we're more than happy to send you the link because you make some great comments as well. But yeah, he's been brilliant. And let's be honest, I think I said to you during the game, we're 2-2, and I went, let's just enjoy it being 2-2. And I did call that, even though I didn't call that we were going to score 2 goals. It was more just let's enjoy, and it's the hope that kills you, and that's kind of summarizing the game. It's the hope that kills you. I mean, we'll get onto the XG. Was it 0.2? It looks like 0.77. Is that 0.27?
0.27. But I think fair enough from Tyler. He's kind of right. Analysis in pointless today. Proud of the boys. I'm just sad. Definitely agree with you. Locks has said, for fuck's sake. Exactly. That's probably how we feel of that. I mean, the way that I feel is that, of course, when you're so close to getting something, that feels really gutting not to have got anything at all. But at the same time, it's like, had that have finished 2-2, it would have been a crime, really. I think we should talk about how we got back into the match, though, because I don't think we did. We actually did do some fairly clever things. So it was pretty crazy. I mean, here we go, looking at some of these comments, right? Never expected that second half performance. After that first half, I was beginning to believe Luke's 9-0 prediction. Exactly. Well done, Leicester. 7 minutes too long. 7 minutes felt a bit ridiculous, in my opinion. But that said, if 3, 4 or 5 would have been fair and it would have done. Silver Fox, here we go. Cooper masterclass indeed. Throw it away at the last minute. Not sure you can really say too much, though, on him so much. We'll come to him in a minute. And 60 million price tag on number 1 or number 31, isn't it? That's what he wears for us, Mads Hermansen. Just quickly, I want to go through some of the other results just to say it is. So, yeah, Everton did beat Palace. That's bad for us in the battle for the drop. And the table currently is looking like this. So they've gone above us. So we've dropped a position so far. Wolves are playing later. They're playing Liverpool. And then Ipswich are playing Bournemouth on Monday. Is that right, Neil?
Yep.
So it is possible.
Bournemouth play Southampton.
Bournemouth play Southampton. Okay. So and Ipswich still got to play as well. So it is possible we drop into the bottom 3, which wouldn't surprise me after this week. We'll come back to that in a moment. So I tell you what,
Ipswich have Villa at home.
Yep. Amazing subs. 2 players on when it's already past the extra time. That's so inspirational. I would kind of share that. So I'll tell you what, let's try and make something of what happened in that second half. So I've got my opinion, but I want to throw it out to the guys because I think, not just the fact that we got the goals, but we did start that second half better and we did start to cause Arsenal problems. Of course, we didn't make any subs. So what did we do in that second half that all of a sudden got us going? And how did we get 2 goals out of absolutely nowhere? Luke, you got nothing in your head? I'll pass over to you.
I don't know if I'm going to give Cooper too much credit for this, if it's Cooper or it's Buonanotte. But in my opinion, one of the biggest things that changed in that second half was the ability for Buonanotte to be able to intercept that ball between Calafiore, who was running right across us, and Martinelli on that one side. So that is one of the areas that we're weak on that's been raised on our right side or their left. And I think that we improved drastically in that second half in that area of the pitch. And that's one of the big reasons for me. And Neil, what do you think of what is one of the big reasons and why we started to switch gears in that second half?
There's 2 main reasons. I'm just going to... Oh, so Neil, you give it. So I don't want to talk
what it was. The names are too similar.
Yeah.
I keep hearing
yeah, the classic.
I think it was putting Buonanotte in that number 10 position And I know you mentioned it a little bit, Luke, but I really want to kind of notice that either if that was a tactical change or if that was an intentional change. Mavididi didn't have his best game for us today, in my opinion. He's been great in the last couple of games, didn't really shine here. And that's partly, I think, just because of the way that Arsenal played us. But the main thing, there seemed more of an identity in the second half. And I know that's a kind of cop-out answer, but it looked like they knew what they were doing more than... Take it back to an example of like when we played against Tottenham, where we had an awful first half and thinking, God, if it's going to be like this, we're going to get embarrassed, And second half, we came out a little bit more. But I think one of the main reasons is getting the best out of Buonanotte.
Luke for chairman. Yeah, okay, I'm going to bring up a few comments here, which I think are fair. I mean, first thing I'm going to bring up that I had it earlier, and I think it's fair enough. Anyone who uses the Cooper excuse needs to change their record. I think we can talk about that, but I would say that, like, I think people saying, oh, the substitutions after injury time and stuff like that, fair enough, but we were trying to see out the 2-2 and we got back into it. So I would agree that I don't think necessarily that you can throw too much at me. If you're going to have an excuse at me, you could say maybe you don't like the lineup or what we were doing, but we'll come to that in a moment. So, yeah, I definitely agree with you with Buonanotte. Here's from Diego. Facu was amazing in that second half. Much better anticipation, hunger. Exactly where we're missing. Facu's the 10. Remember that, guys. He's not a winger. But I think what kind of Neil and Luke are alluding to, which I agree with, is it felt in the second half that he was playing more centrally. That's not to say he wasn't playing centrally in the first half, but he definitely wasn't as central, if that makes sense. He came far more inside, and every time he picked up the ball, he was great. He won the ball back so many times. I think he got the assist for the first goal. So he had a really strong game, Buonanotte. I think that's number one, that he did well. And I think the second thing that we did better in the second half, although it faded as the half went on, is we actually got the ball to our double pivot of Skip and Winks. And I think that was what we just didn't do enough in the game. And Luke, you've made the point that that's maybe the issue of not having Vestergaard in the team, is that's what our foundation was built on last year, is our ability to pass out the back. I mean, it did almost cost us, right, when Mads trying to find Harry Winks and he ended up saving from Trossard. But got to say, Hermansen, look at that. Absolutely. So you just said 12 saves, Neil. He actually made 13 in total. That's absolutely ridiculous. You may not see a better performance from a keeper. And how incredible is it, though, that you can get 9.7 out of 10 and still concede 4 goals? But that is the reality of what's coming through. So I'll talk about it. But I mean, I think, yeah, what did you make of the substitutes then at the end? Because we're in an interesting position, right? Firstly, the first sub we made was Ayew for Buonanotte, actually. So, Luke, you talk to me about that.
Disgusting. I don't agree with it at all. I thought Buonanotte was one of our most important players in that game, particularly the second half. If it were me, and here we go, Steve Cooper sack, Luke Guardiola's in from down under, I would be moving Buonanotte into that 10 position, okay? And Vardy would be coming off for a rest, and I'd put Ayew up front, hold the ball, try and hold out for that 1 point. He draws a lot of fouls, gives time to be able to he holds the ball up. That's the time to put him on. And when we try to hold on to a lead or an equal score, hold up the ball, draw that foul, give top people time to get in the position. Because how many times in that game did we see Vardy, this is why, in my opinion, Mavididi, Neil, you say he didn't have a good game. That's because whenever he does get the ball and we hit him on the break, you've got maybe Vardy making a run. He's not as fast as he used to be. You've got 4 people in between him. No one else is pressing where you used to have Dewsbury Hall alongside him. And then when we locked the ball down the other end of the pitch, you had Jay to come up over the pitch to offer support on that left-hand side. I'm sorry, I just ranted a bit. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just, in my opinion, we need... Yeah, I'll let you go, Neil, because otherwise I'm just going to go on and on about Enzo Boy, and I've got to move on.
I think the substitutions are correct. Are correct, and they're right to challenge them. But also, and it's something that we're going to come on to later, part of the problem is the way we see out games, and the players need to take some responsibility for that as well. There's a lot of speak in the chat about Cooper, and I agree, but as much emphasis needs to be put on the players, because when we were 2-2 up, we got it out of nowhere. There was a time earlier on where D should have just bolted to the corner and played again the dark arts, and we've done this before. When we won the league, and I'm not saying, we have to be like when we won the league. We did this really well. The manager would be like, look, run into the corner, keep the ball, and we'll get the game sorted out. And I think partly the players are to blame for this. So I agree, the substitutions haven't been good enough. We're going to get into more detail as well. But the player needs to take ownership for this as well, because it's not all on Cooper. You have to go out there, and when things aren't going well, we've got a 2-2, And we know they're going to pile pressure. This is Arsenal. They've done this for 5 years now under Arteta. What is the plan? Right, we've got to kind of conserve it and be the hard. We don't want to just take a draw. We want to deserve that draw. And part of that is actually going out and taking it, even if we don't deserve it.
Is that note, Neil, not on the manager? Because I'm thinking around 80th minute, Hermansen had an injury and there was enough time to speak to the whole team. I'm going to go through a few comments here that I think make my point for me. So Joe said, regarding Ayew, that no, we needed a goal threat on the break, not a free kick winner. And I'll remind you that in the 90th minute, when it was 2-2, the ball breaks and we actually had a sequence where we were 4-on-4 against Arsenal. When it comes to Ayew and he had the touch of a donkey, that's to quote Luke with his amazing football analysis there. And it just went off and they recovered the ball back easily. And if that had been Fatawu or somebody else, it would have made a big difference. Diego has said, like, I can understand bringing Ayew because he's stronger and means hold up play, more possession of the ball, etc. But he didn't do that. Like, I thought if you were going to do that, maybe he should have gone up top for Vardy. That would have made more sense. I don't mind the team selection, but Cooper has no clue of subs. He needed fresh blood in after we equalised to hold the rest of the match. I mean, he did wait quite a long time in terms of doing it. And yeah, this is the point of Chips. Ayew and DCR are so bad offensively, they may as well go forward. And I think he's got a really good point there. And Chips also said, Cooper only has good halves. He never has a good game. And the thing is that if you keep doing that over and over, at some point it stops becoming luck and it starts becoming a pattern. And I want to say, just because the Tito Blues on the property list, I'm not going to be like on this one so massively against Cooper, because to be honest with you, you're playing one of the best teams in the league. They had ridiculous stats. They actually had an XG of 4 goals and they scored 4 goals. So they deserved to get the 4, right? But we did have a chance with 90th minute on the clock play to get something out of the game. And we did two things, a lot of things that were bad. So you said it there, Neil. Yes, the players need to take more accountability, but you as the manager have got to come on and tell them what to do, right? To play it out, not to just to give it away, but like when you get the ball, keep hold of it, cluster around it with 3 of you, make them foul you, right? Like play out. Like, for example, why not put another centre back on then? Right? Against Crystal Palace, he put Connor Cody on, but today he's decided to go like for like subs everywhere, but made it worse. Yeah, Chips was saying, Ayew and DCR are so bad offensively, they might as well go forward. I brought that before, and DCR is not a Leicester player. And that's what I'm saying. Maybe you could make different changes there in order to kind of give you something. Ayew has a chance to do what everyone says, can hold the ball, takes the worst touch ever. 2 minutes later, they scored, is kind of my point. So they're my kind of comments on the subs. I'll let you talk about it a little bit more before I kind of go into some more of the players. What do you make of that statement then, that actually we could have done better substitutions there?
We could have, but what the reason why I'm commenting on that is because all I'm seeing in the chat is just Cooper. And yes, it is a fault. And again, Ricardo is another thing. And again, another game goes by, not a single Premier League minute from him. But that's all it is. I just want to come back to the comments and go, look, it is, and Cooper does deserve it, but it's not just all on him and going, oh, it's his fault. Yes, it is, but the players need to take responsibility. If it was the players not playing the position, or if it was just the manager making an absolute mess of things, let's be honest, we didn't really deserve anything out of the game, and we didn't by the end score, but we got 2 brilliant opportunities to get back into the game. Appreciate that as well. So yeah, make sure you subscribe down to Luke as well. But yeah, we've got to make sure to again get the most out of it, because it's frustrating. But at the same time, we all knew we were going to come out of that game with 0 points, but it's how we've managed to do it and how close we were to really understanding that. And part of it, as we'll probably come on to later, has been the goalkeeper and James Justin.
Yeah. Just guys, we've got over 112 sadomasochists that have come in after watching that. Thank you so much. Would love it if you could like and subscribe to Beyond the 90, LCFC Down Under, and for Fox State TV, which you're wanting on there. Luke, talk to me. What do you think?
What do I think of what the subs?
Yeah, the subs, and if there is a case to be made for the coach, or are we being too harsh? Because I mean, look, here we go. Fox has had a 0.26 XG. I think it's 2.7. Crazy to get 2 goals. So very much against the run of play. But talk to me.
Again, look, you can say donkey subs again from Cooper, but the problem is, like, there was a comment someone put up earlier about we needed a goal for it. But the problem is, who do you say Vardy's puffing, right? Who do we have as an option to sub for him? Edson Odoard, whatever his name is, was garbage against Walsall. Probably like pretty desperate, loan option in my opinion. Or you have Ayew, and that's it. Or maybe you move Mavididi into that top position. So other than that, in terms of, we'll get onto that in a sec, right? But in terms of up top and goal threat, we've got not much options. We're limited, right? Yes, I know you had the touch of a donkey. But if we had to make subs in that attacking position, why not keep Buonanotte on as your 10? Bring Fatau on that right-hand side. We know he tracks back well defensively, and he can stretch the pitch and, get up there, and that's your goal threat right there. So Ayew up top, Fatau on the right. Now, this man here is like free Ricardo is huge. Now, in my opinion, if we were to play the back five, we could put JJ on that left side and centre back, which we've seen him before. Have Fass in the middle, or even a Coley, on the left. But he got a bit better in that second half, but he was poor for large parts of that game. So you could play a back five, and you could make a shout for that to hold that game out. But then you're just inviting even more wave of attack, which we're already sustaining so much of it is. So how can we really bring on a goal threat? Going back to that comment from someone saying we needed a goal threat, where does that come from if we're having so little of the ball, in my opinion?
Absolutely. And this is what Scott's saying here. Not enough pressure on the ball. I get the defensive block, but where was the fight to try and get something from it in the first half? Second half, huge improvement, but why were subs not made sooner? And you could also say that, like, after we've got back to 2-2, we then kind of like sat off again. Like, we were just happy to take it. Whereas you could kind of say, if you were braver, would it not be? I mean, I'm going to come to that in a moment. I'm just going to bring this up again, which is Chips really don't want to see Ndidi in the 10. It's so depressing seeing his wank touch. I know we really don't like him there. I think we did say that in the first half, that we felt in this game he wasn't that great at holding it up. He did cause some chaos helping. I mean, just going to bring it up though with the Ndidi. Ndidi got another assist today, and he actually did a left-footed cross onto JJ, who then just struck it with his left foot. So a few things I'll say about that. One, Justin, he's actually hit what could be goal of the month contender with his left foot. So that's a really strong argument for why Justin could play on the left-hand side. And I think we're saying Christensen, well, if we come back to the ratings, we're kind of going all over the place. But Victor Christensen and compare it to Saka, I mean, look at Saka, 9.6. So he's probably got 2 or 3 assists. He's basically had Christensen on toast most of the game. So, maybe we could do that. Chips has put Cooper learns from the best managers such as Wayne Rooney. Although Wayne Rooney actually beat Luton earlier on today, which is kind of crazy. Here's kind of funny one. Remember when Arsenal last won the league? Ranieri brought on Wasilewski and we conceded. Cooper learned from that. Perhaps. Yeah, that was when we won the league, though, of course. Simon said, I don't think he's played the same attacking midfield 3 in any game yet, has he? He's not really a sense that he's making his mind up on the best 3 either, which is kind of possible. And Clibo here's put, I knew we'd concede late as soon as those subs were made. Why change what we were doing? Boring, predictable, and relegation coach. And this is my point. I kind of do feel that given it was 2-2 with so little time to play, that a really strong coach, the difference between like, an okay and a good one or a great one is a great one's going to get something from it. And look at Arteta. You can say what you want, right? I don't think they were brilliant in the second half, but they still scored 2 goals and the title is still on for them. Whereas with us, yes, it might have been undeserved, as you said, Neil, but we could have got something and we didn't get something out of it. So I'm going to start skipping through some of the players there now. But of course, do free to take the conversation where you want. And thank you so much for chat. There's some great comments here that we're going to come to. And yeah, look, fair enough. Chris has said, look, honestly, lads, while the result was garbage, that was an amazing second half and we're super unlucky. It's Leicester, it happens. I think you're right up until about the 90th minute. That's kind of my point. I think better subs, we get something. But okay, first and foremost, I'm going to come to you, Neil. What can you possibly say about someone who's fast becoming a cult hero if he wasn't already? Mads.
I mean, he's been our most consistent player since the beginning of the season.
Agreed.
Now he's now not because he's accelerated that level to another level. 13 saves in a game. The fact that, and he was everywhere. And I think you were mentioning it again, not to steal your thunder. You say he was playing on pure adrenaline. He was giving the ball away in stupid positions, but then making up for it with the saves. He's playing like a keeper in this game. Who am I thinking? There's a keeper. The person I'm coming back to, again, different kind of player, but the same kind of work ethic was like Shay Given. I'll give you what I mean by that. Was he the best keeper? No, but he was committed. He made some great saves at great times. And this was in his later part of his career where he was still focused. This is a Shay Given that I think was unbelievable in today's game. Yes, he gave away balls in stupid positions, but without him, we genuinely could have been looking at over 5 goals plus if he wasn't in goal. Because considering the guy's 24 years old, what he's done, again, saved 13 goals for us. For me, that's incredible. And I can't sing enough of him, how good he is. I'm just hoping this adds another 100 million to his price tag when we eventually sell him on.
He's definitely the next big sell, 100%. He was absolutely incredible today, that's for sure. All right, I'm going to come on to one of Luke's favourite players, and that's Victor Christensen. Got a few comments up about that. Keep them coming in the comments from LCFC fan. Christensen didn't make more than one decent challenge. Luke, talk to me about your favourite left-back in the world, Victor Christensen.
Look, to be fair, anyone who's coming up against Saka is going to have a hard time, right? And he did have a few and far in between decent moments, but I just feel like the move and the ball breaks put down way too much of him, in my opinion. Unless we're going to be dominating and having a lot of possession, he's got the ability to roam forward on the touchline, put a cross in, which we didn't even really see, maybe once or twice. In my opinion, when he's forced to turn onto his left foot and play the ball back, it breaks down because he's not confident on his right. It's quite frustrating. I still think that JJ is the better option on the left and have Ricard on the right. I just can't comprehend why that is not our best starting 11. Winks on the left. So not Winks on the left, sorry. Mavididi on the left, Fatah on the right, JJ on the left. Ricard. Same as last season. I don't understand. I don't get it. I can see like some values of like people saying left-footed option, but we don't see it enough for it to be a value. And I think his man marking is very scary. Sometimes he gets caught out a lot in transition. I'm sorry, but I just think that he's not horrible and he had a better game today. I'll be the first to say that, but I still think that he's out of his depth sometimes in the Premier League. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we've got a few things here. Chris was saying average. Someone's called him dopey from Dorco. I can kind of see what he's saying. Chip saying he was good on the ball, and I think like he was putting his all in. I'm not sure he was that good on the ball. He was okay in the first half. I think the kind of trick is Victor does look like he's putting his all in, but is that just because he gives it like the game face? Because the thing is that a lot of the time he looks like he's trying, but if you look at what he actually does, is it even that good? Vic was seeing stars of Saka, the typical lol. And, Luke, would you not want to see Thomas on the left back role? Smiley face. I think we know about that.
Scott and timeout.
Yeah. VK is like VB, not a bad option if you can't afford Foster's. Love that comment. Absolutely hilarious. And look, I think what we're really saying at the end of the day is this. This is how we all feel. Free Ricardo. Like, he's okay, Christensen. Yeah, still young, though, ain't he? He definitely is young, but it's like we need to stay up. And surely if we put Justin on the left, who, by the way, scored goal of the month contender with his left foot, and we put Ricardo on the right, it makes the team stronger and we'll be better. Anyway, let's move on. All right, Neil, I'll give you two. Talk to me about both Wout Fass and Caleb Okoli.
Wout Fass, I didn't think he pulled up any trees. I think he did what he needed to do. But Okoli, I think... he was more bipolar, which is ironic out of the two of them. At times in the first half, he was giving the ball away unnecessarily to players, like just little passes. And again, this is what I'm talking about, where yes, the manager is to blame for some of it, but Okoli, when he gets the ball, it was a 5-yard pass. It was an easy pass into the midfield and he'd mess it up, give the ball back to them and then rotate the position. But at the same time, in the second half, he kind of grew into the game. A couple of times he challenged Trossard for the goal to charge down the defender. So I think the progressive side of it and the actual passing from the back, he's definitely got to work on. But the physicality that's needed for the Premier League, I think he's pretty much there.
Chris Zeus, I totally agree with you. So he said both have been good this season, but Okoli silly balls into midfield first half. That is kind of my point. I think defensively, he was actually pretty good today. You mentioned that a few times, Neil. Like, he made a great recovery challenge on Trossard, showed his pace, which was good to see. He was pretty dominant in the air. Bit unlucky with that goal in the corner that Trossard got near the end, or was it an own goal off Ndidi? But I think, to be honest with you, I kind of expected this. I think Okoli has definitely grown on me, and I'm starting to see a much better player there than I first thought. But I did think in a game like today, he may well struggle against a team who's so good at pressing. And I think he did. And he basically, when he had the ball, and I think what's worse is a few times when he gave the ball away, he actually had time. You know what I mean? It wasn't even that he was completely rushed and he made a poor pass and it cost us, trouble. And this is what, Caleb did struggle but grew into the match, could be adjusting, perhaps. But I feel like this is like a trend we're seeing. Okoli, not a great passer at the moment, but love his energy. I think he was okay. And like I say, I'm not going to get on his back, to be honest with you. And I did think that this would be like the acid test. I think he's shown that he's pretty good against the other teams. I would expect him to struggle, yes, against Liverpool, Man City, and Arsenal, to be honest, if he maybe one or two other teams. But he was pretty good against Villa, for example, right? And they pressed quite a lot. Scott said, yeah, Coley was unfortunate for me. He couldn't find a man to get us out from our own half and had to clear his line. No one running the channels for the counter, which Coley tried to play. That is a very good point. And I think on that point, the two that I'm going to give to you, Luke, are the double pivot. Can you talk to me about Harry Winks and Ollie Skip?
Okay, thank you. I was wanting to talk about this. Okay, so one of the things I forgot to mention was the biggest turnaround that I mentioned during the game was we are missing, if we're building from the back, we're missing one, having Vestergaard, who was absolutely instrumental last season, right? And also Harry Winks. So usually when you build out from the back, it comes from Mads to Manson, usually to Winks, straight back to Mads out wide, or it would come to Vestergaard, who would then feed the ball to Winks, and you could build upon there. So in my opinion, when it's coming out from Mads to Manson, Winks, we nearly cost us a goal for, and that was, in my opinion, a bit of like muscle memory from last season where he passed a dodgy ball to Winks real short and nearly cost us a goal. Harry Winks is not having enough time on the ball. We're having barely any possession, so we're not getting the best out of Harry Winks. And in my opinion, that's because people like a Coley are not good on the ball when we're under such heavy press. So in my opinion, the ball needs to be started out the back to Harry Winks, and then we build upon there with Skip being one of your double pivot that advances further up the pitch and also offers you that left-foot-sided option. So teams like, let's say hypothetically Bournemouth, that is how I would start to build out from the back between those two. Oliver Skip, I thought had a good game. Well, I think that second goal started from Skip getting the ball from Mads Manson and building upon there. So as our builders, I think those two are absolutely exceptional, but we need to get the ball to them and we need to control them more. So that is probably one of the biggest things that we need to build upon, in my opinion. What are your thoughts, Anil?
I totally agree with you. I'm going to bring up some comments, but I think you basically said everything I would like to say. So they said Rated said clear Winks isn't happy under Cooper. Sounds like another average performance. And I think it is fair to say it was a bit of an average performance from him. And then Matt said, I like Winks, but I think Ricardo can do the same things Winks does, plus a bit more, especially with Ricardo's quality on the ball. Now, all of that is definitely fine. But I think, LCFC fans kind of mentioned here, that's what you need Yannick for. I think you called it out perfectly right, Luke. We're definitely this season, we are not playing through that double pivot anywhere near as much as I thought we would do. Chris has said here, honestly, we should have the far more long ball threat today with that harsh press. Winks and Skip had no chance of looking good. Maybe, but for example, I feel like we didn't even really try it so much where, as you say, last season, we'd always be looking to play out of trouble. And we did it actually for the first 5 minutes in this game. But after that, we never really looked at it. And I think that's all of the defenders. Like, actually, I didn't touch on it when you said Victor Christensen. But one thing I don't like about Victor Christensen is I don't think he's too good under pressure. I think he doesn't often help you get up the field. He's kind of good defensively. But that's where we're struggling in a game like today. Under Enzo, yes, you might make some mistakes, but you've got to have the confidence to play through the press because that's what's going to open them up and get them going. If you never do that, you won't get it. Just quickly, just want to say, Locks, thank you so much to us three for helping out. Well, thanks to you, Locks, for hosting. You're having a holiday now, so have a great time in Turkey. Hopefully it's not ruined by this result.
Bring back Soyuncu with you.
Yeah, bring back Soyuncu. Daniel Amate got released from his Turkish club, by the way. Hashtag just saying. Neil, what do you think about the double pivot? And also, I'm going to bring up this just because it's kind of hilarious that you're bringing up. Here's the passing networks. And look, this actually does bring the point, right? Because look how often the number 8 is Harry Winks and number 22 is Oliver Skip.
That's why I brought
so this
it up.
Actually proves the point, right? Is if this was Enzo, you would be seeing the 3 centre defenders. That's 2, 3, and 5, right? Because that's Justin, Okoli, and Fass. And the keeper, and they'd be playing to the 8 and 22 time and time again, but they're not doing it, right? That's what I guess I'm saying. But you tell me because you brought these stats up.
To be fair, I thought you'd explain it because I'm not too good with all these more complicated stuff. But the reason why I brought that up is because Harry Winks works in a position where the ball comes to everything goes through him. And we play in a possession style like we were last year. And that's the reason why he signed. He mentioned on his very first interview where that's the case. Now, again, obviously against Arsenal, where we're playing one position, when we're playing the one where we're going to be under the ball, we're not going to get the best out of him. But in this, he's in the position where, again, you can, from that average formation, you can see that the ball all comes to him, but it doesn't. It comes to Ndidi, it comes to Skip, and we're just not getting the best out of him. And there's no wonder he's a possession. He's looking like a passenger. I don't think that's his fault. I just don't think we're playing to his strengths. It's kind of like if we decided to play Vardy as a CDM, which just yes, but you're not playing to his strengths. So why do it? Or if we decided to play, I don't know, a Buonanotte right out wide. Yes, it doesn't work. You can't say, oh, he's terrible, because it never worked in his position in the first place.
All right, we got some heated chat here, so I'm going to bring some of these comments. I've got to say, I've got to talk about that passing network. I please share that with me after the game as well. I want that from my analysis. That is hugely telling. I cannot tell you how much that is. Scott said, I feel there is no chemistry between Winks and Skip, as there are not enough passes between the pair. And then LCFC Down Under disagreed with that. So Luke, tell me why you disagree with this. So what's your take on this double pivot? Because I think it's pivotal to what's going wrong with Leicester at the moment.
I think so as well, and I strongly disagree. I think those two together are great. I just think it's a system that we play, and you could easily put Ricardo. People are shouting for Ricardo Pereira in that wings position, and I totally agree. He could do it, absolutely. We know he could, but you have to admit that, in my opinion, that Ricardo is nowhere near as mobile across the pitch as Harry Winks is at his best. You have to admit that, and if you don't, then we'll find it's okay. Football is about opinions. You could put Ricardo in that position, right? That double pivot. But in the system and the way that we're playing, particularly with Vestergaard alongside to be able to have decent ball distribution from out the back, any one of those two double pivot positions is not going to look like as any cohesiveness because of the way we play. So, in my opinion, I think that people saying that Winks hasn't been playing that great is because we have not had a lot of the ball. We've gone from being dominating possession in the championship with 60+ possession, right, to now, averaging, I don't know, 40 to 45%, okay? So if we're not on the ball a lot and there's none of the same passages of play that we had under Enzo, then you cannot get the best out of Harry Winks. Skip gets a bit further at the pitch, he gets away with a bit more. But that is just stupid. Because the problem is, Winks is a myth. He contributes nothing more but short, simple passes. Another option if he gives you more. Okay, listen, those short passes that Harry Winks did at his best, okay, give people time to move off the ball, which we're not doing on the Cooper, and get set up and to make, overloads and etc. further up the pitch. That is the most, look, I'm sorry, but that's a stupid comment. You cannot say that.
I don't want to call people in our chat stupid. I think this is a good thing, but I think Diego's put the point on the head. And I will defend Manny a little bit by saying what he's trying to point out. I think you could make the argument that in the way that Cooper is using him, actually Harry Winks is not contributing much, right? Mm-hmm. But what Diego is saying, and what I agree, is that it's because we're not using him correctly, whereas under Enzo Maresca, we did. So the Winks hate is so fucking forced. It's a message by people who don't understand football. That again might be a bit harsh, but I think he's saying, but yes, I will tell you right now, this will feature in my analysis, right? So this is basically the problem, and this is why we've struggled in this game, is that I'll try and find one actually from last season. If you could help me with that, Neil, with Maresca. But last season, we'd be playing into this double pivot, these back three into these two, time and time again, right? But we're not doing that. So that means we can't get out. There are other ways you can play. If you look at Spain playing in the Euros, what they would do is see where Victor Christensen is here. He'd actually be right on the touchline. And number 2, Justin, would also be on the touchline. And they would play out from the back in this kind of like large square, which was really clever from what they've done. So basically, we're getting the ball. We can't play out of trouble. And then we turn the ball over. And then that's why Arsenal have a ridiculous field tilt. And look at Arsenal's passing network. That's absolutely absurd. Look at their frigging goalkeeper. He's not even playing anywhere in his goal. And even number 2, Saliba, is so high. I'm going to come back to things in a minute. But Neil, over to you.
No, I think it was with Spain, because I didn't watch them that much. Were they playing a back 3 or a back 2?
They have a back 2, but the way that they play out, which a lot of teams do, is they play a back 4. And the thing is that a bit like what we did with our wingers, their fullbacks are so wide that if you're a wide forward, let's say like Mavadidi or Fatawu, you've got a difficult decision, because if you try and press the centre back, the fullback is so wide that you can't take that chance. So what he does, Luis Del Fuente, is very clever manager, is he spreads it out. But we're not talking about Spain, we're talking about Leicester. So let's just have the final say on the pivot, and then I'm going to move on to some other players. But I do think that this is basically the issue, and I think we're saying it over and over again, which is like if Winks doesn't get the ball enough and he messes up his passes because other teams know how to neutralize his strengths, his performances are going to be worse. And that's on Steve. And I think I would agree with that.
Can I show you some other stats? Because again, I can't
bring them up. Bring them up. Well, you do, guys. We'd love it if you could like and subscribe to For Fox's Sake, Beyond the 90, and LCFC Down Under. Go for it, Neil.
So here's some more. Again, I can't really. This is a way of saying how much a threat we had compared to how much threat they had. They've got it as 0.58 xg, which is double what you were saying, but again, still less than 1.
Yeah.
And I don't know what live and SP means.
Yeah. Yes, it's kind of the expected goals. Just to put the final bit of spice on the fire, I'll let you have your final say, Luke. So Manny said, the bit Luke doesn't seem to understand is in the championship, we had time to look good. Not in this league, my learned friend.
Okay, Manny D, with all due respect, mate, why don't you ask yourself this? Under the championship, we had a manager who played at a sexy, attractive brand of football that knew exactly where to position people, where to stand, when to press, when to move off the ball, when to have people there in support. We have none of that with Cooper right now. We barely have an identity as it is. So with all due respect, yes, I completely understand what you are saying about the championship and having more time on ball and a lot more people were parking the bus against us. But you cannot say that under Enzo, and building upon what we had from last season, that you would not get a lot more out of Weeks and have more time on the ball. Just saying, playing of a back three, just saying.
All right, we're going to move it on. Thanks for sharing that, Neil. We're going to make that a part of the show, I think, from every week from now on. So let's move on. I'll hand this over to you, Neil. Steffi Mavadidi, what did you make of him?
Didn't really see him too much, did we? Again, there's some games where he goes missing, and that's okay. I just don't think I think the way that we played when we have Leicester possession, we were looking for him, we didn't find him. And if everything where we were getting space is through the middle, so Wilfred and Didi and Buonanotte with the 2 seconds of touches and time they had on the ball, it wasn't his fault. But he didn't really do anything today, and I don't blame him. I just don't think that the way that we played today really played to his strength, which is one-on-one running at a man.
Yeah, exactly. Buonanotte, we've covered. What do you make of Jamie Vardy?
Non-existent again. Same thing with, I don't blame Jamie Vardy for not playing, but you meant a good point. I'll throw it back to you when we were playing. He's underrated in certain aspects, even in this game where when other people are playing Leicester City, it's still yes, but Jamie Vardy's playing. Do you want to go into the point you made?
Yeah, I was going to say actually that for as much of him not touching the ball, I think Vardy actually did pretty reasonable. So in the first half, the only thing that gave us any sort of goal threat with our 0.07 xg was Vardy got it. He held it up really well, and then he did a really nice curved chipped, floated pass over to Justin, who took a touch and then went for a shot. So that was pretty decent. And then in the second half, he got the ball quite a few times. He held it down. This led up to it's actually our best move of the game, if I remember it correctly. And Luke's kind of alluding to this as well. It starts with Mads. Mads gets it out to Skip. Skip had some time to turn on the ball. He plays it forward into Vardy. Vardy playing the false nine, manages to turn, brings the whole team up. We end up, I think Buonanotte gets the ball. It gets, fouled. And then that leads to or it might be the Ndidi crossing over. Anyway, that was when it was good. And that's basically, really, really, I think, useful for us. So I think he actually proved himself to be not too bad at all. But the issue is, as we're kind of saying this, although, Diego's saying here, Edouard Jadon's to be started this match, IMO would have given us more. I think I agree with you, Neil, that I disagree with this. I think Vardy was very good in holding it up, but the issue is we just couldn't get the ball to him enough, which we've shown with the passing networks because Arsenal didn't allow us to get going.
And this is what I want. Again, agree with Diego a lot of the time. I don't think that was the case because this is something that people from the outside that don't watch Jamie Vardy will say time and again, where he plays on the shoulder. He's only got one trick pony. He wouldn't have as many goals as he's currently got if that was the case. Jamie Vardy's, again, the ability to drop deep and the fact that he's playing 90 minutes, let's be honest, the fact that he didn't get substituted speaks. Would I have substituted him?
Should he have got substituted?
Yes, I would have. But again, we just didn't get enough possession for it. We probably should have substituted him for Ayew and allowed Buonanotte to push forward instead of playing Ayew as a 10, which again is another thing that I have against Cooper because out of all the number 10s we've got, you choose John Ayew, who isn't a number 10. Anyway, that's part of it. So I'm still impressed with Jamie Vardy every game because the name in itself will harry defenders. What I mean by that as well is that I spoke to other fans, even the fans that have. So the fan from Chile that I actually interviewed on the show a couple of years ago now. He mentioned when he wears his Leicester City shirt, they recognise Vardy before they recognise Leicester City, and that shows you that I'm not saying he's bigger than the club. Leave Jordan Ayew there because he's his favourite god today. But yeah, so Jamie Vardy arguably is one player that is bigger than the club.
Yeah. Well, there's a few good comments here, so I want to bring them up, which kind of make my point. So Joe Smith, Vardy won the free kick for the first goal and should have had a free kick for the Guna goal too. And most people have said, yeah, that was a blatant foul. The Vardy pass to JJ early in the game was a good chance. Yeah, here's the thing though, Klimo. Yeah, but this is the thing. He's 38. He shouldn't be playing 90 minutes. Totally agree. Dorco, Vardy is our most intelligent player, which is hilarious for a Red Bull chugger. I think you're probably correct. Also seemed to lack confidence played between the lines without Arsenal to retrieve the ball back high. Yeah, that's the story of the game. Diego, yeah, of course, Vaz knows how to play. Strengths at his age, he's amazing. Well, look, I tell you what, to wrap things up, I think we've talked a lot about it. The Winks debate is an interesting angle that we've gone down that I think is, I think we've got to bottom to. But let's end with Steve Cooper then, right? Obviously, some people, I wouldn't say they've got agendas, but are not necessarily his biggest fan. But we played that game in the end. I mean, look, first and foremost, I think most teams who go to the Emirates this season are going to lose. That's a fact. I don't think there'll be many teams that come from a 2-goal deficit to get back to 2-2. The guys did put in a lot of hard work, I would say. I do think the big thing that kind of keeps coming out though is that when we attack, we can score goals, Leicester, but we don't really do it so much. So I'll let both of you have your kind of talking about. So Steve Cooper, what are we thinking? And let's judge him specifically on this game rather than the overall season. And I'll start with you, Luke.
Well, you already know my thoughts. I want him gone. I think, look, he get a bit of a free hit with this Arsenal because of, the absolute depth and how well managed they are with Arteta. Fair enough. But in my opinion, if he loses the Bournemouth game is his last chance for me because I see no progression whatsoever. I don't want to see him any longer than that. If we lose that Bournemouth game, gone. See ya. Let's get someone else in ready for the international break and have time to work with who we have. That's not international duty. In my opinion, we've gone in cheap. Maybe no one wanted to come because of FFP and a points deduction hanging over our head, but he is a donkey, and I think it's a complete regression of our last season, and it scares me, and I don't want him at this club, to be honest with you. And I had that opinion before this game, and I still would have said it even if we had to draw this game. Let's see what happens of the Bournemouth game.
Sure.
I want him gone.
Fair enough. I'm going to bring up Matt Buckland, although this could be Luke's alternate account. I'm not entirely sure. I agree with Luke that Cooper's instructions to the players aren't sophisticated enough, which is why none of us can clearly define Cooper's style. Also, his substitution patterns are predictable. I think that's a really good comment, actually. Is it the players need a translator to get the game plan to be in effect at the start of the game? Fair enough. Chips has said, I thought Arsenal would be a free hit, but being 2-2 at 90 and bottling it makes it not a free hit for me, which is fair. Joe Smith, I think this is a really good comment as well, actually. Cooper, he did better, but he could do better, which is fair enough. Neil, what do you think of Steve Cooper?
I think the Joe's comment knocks on the head.
Yeah.
And also, I think he did, again, the first half, we didn't get it right at all. Felt a little bit sorry for ourselves. And actually, we started to come out and play. And part of that, because Arsenal didn't know what was coming into the team. Now that we're playing this kind of, now that we the substitutions they made didn't make sense. Let's be honest. Buonanotte was our going for, again, obviously Mads Hermansen, James Justin will get their credit. Buonanotte we've not spoke about and how good he was in this game. For somebody that's 19 years old, I think he's been incredible in this game. He's got no fear. And also what I really enjoy, he's not afraid of a battle. He will get stuck in. He will sometimes take on 2-3 players and go, do you know what? I'll try something. And it does seem a little bit like, I think there was a time, was it in the second half, where he took on, I think I put it down, 61 minutes or so. Individual brilliance is what we were kind of relying on.
Yeah, he beat 3 men and went for the shot, didn't he? Yeah,
yes,
was good.
And that's an example. I'm really happy with him. Anyway, how he performed. And what did Steve Cooper do? And Buonanotte was our best attacking threat. Take him off. The only player that was going to keep us in the game, going to get us something, he took him off. I need you to play with Godchild Jordan Ayew. I'm convinced that he's adopted him. At the end of the day, I was surprised when I didn't see him on the starting sheet because I thought, you know what, we're going to have to sit in. It would have been a lot worse if Jordan Ayew was in the team because defensively he would have offered something, but Vardy would have been even more isolated. So do you know what? Credit to Steve Cooper for not playing Jordan Ayew from the very beginning. But it was the wrong sub to bring him on. El Canus, again, and his subs, did they really impact the game? No, really. Let's be honest with you. Who do we? I'm just gonna look at the scores now. Jordan Ayew didn't really affect the game. Wilfred Ndidi was Odds and Edward was 98 minutes. Cool.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Like, what's he supposed to do in that time when the game is already gone? D. Cordova-Reid 91 and El Canoes 91. Now, nothing against either of those two players. What can they offer? What can they offer in that amount of time when we're under the cosh? And if you are going to come on, you're not going to try and play it simple, or go and run it into the corner. Your mission, and the manager should be screaming in your ear going, we've got 2-2. We need to see this out. You run, you tackle, you get in that corner, and you try and play the dark arts of the ball. And credit to Mavididi, who was playing it literally until he went off. He was on the floor pretending like he had cramp, and I thought, of course he's got cramp. And lactic acid buildup at the time. But at the same time, we really need to capitalize. We've got something good there. Mavididi should have played all the minutes. Let's be honest. He would have done more than El Canoes and Reid for the substitutions. I would have preferred him not to make any substitutions, as bad as that sounds, because we were playing, we understood what we were doing. His substitution made us regress. Now, it was 2 times where you're looking at the game and we did lose the 2 goals. But I don't think it's a coincidence we put those substitutes on. And we put Reid on and we put El Canoes on at 94 minutes. We also conceded it in 94 and 99. So again, Steve Cooper, again, not to backtrack on what I was saying, but he is a reason why we lost the game. It's not all his fault, but I believe that's one of the reasons why as well. Because again, we could have got a draw out of this. And as you were saying before, a better manager would have gotten something out of the game. And we've gone, do you know what? I don't know how we've done that, but we've got a point, and that's all that matters from the game. You know, when we won 1-0 against Sunderland last year, and it was the awful game. We were playing terrible, but at the end of the day, we got the 3 points, and we went on to the next game. Yes, we weren't as good in that last game, afterwards, but we went and we got the 3 points. And good managers and better managers, like, let me be honest, Arteta in this game, got the points. And at the end of the day, when you play terribly, it doesn't matter. You have to pick up points. And this, again, that's all it is at the end of the day. We would have taken a point away from Arsenal. We don't get anything there. And it was in our hands. But we let it slip. And part of it is down to the subs.
Yeah, I'm going to pass over to Luke in a moment. I'm just going to say your point when you said that our best player was Buonanotte and we took him off from an attacking point of view. You have to laugh because otherwise you'll cry. And he's done that so many times as well, where he's taken off one of our best players and, it's cost us the game. That's really, really frustrating. Definitely a lot of kind of comments there. But Luke, just quickly and say, we're going with Arteta as well. We've got to say some things. They brought on Ethan Nwaneri, who was 17, and he was twinkle toes in the box. How good was he? Really exciting. Luke, what do you want to say about Steve Cooper? I believe you want to contribute to what someone else might have said.
To what both of you would have said. So look, talking about, I got 2 things I want to raise. First of all, how many goals have we conceded post sub changes for Cooper? I think would be a terrifying stat that we can talk about in another show. B, answer me this, Anil. What would you say was Keenan Dewsbury Hall's most important asset that he brought to us as a team?
Progressive carries and passing. He got the ball up the pitch. Yeah.
Not the progressive carries, correct? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Now, in my opinion, the most crucial player that we have available to our squad right now that has the ability to do that is Buonanotte. Hence why he has to remain in the team. And why I ask everyone in the chat this, unless we play with a back 3, as good as Wilfred Ndidi has been, in my opinion, do you think it is to our detriment to be playing him as a 10? Because I would much rather have Ndidi as a high 8. Because I think Buonanotte not playing and Fatawa not playing is criminal. So how can we find a way to integrate them all into the side is my opinion. And I think the way to do that is play the back 3 again and have Ricardo, Winks, and Skip as your rotation options as your double pivot. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you've stolen what I'm going to say in my analysis show later. So thanks a lot for that. You're going to make spoilers for that pretty good video. Well, look, guys, get your last remaining comments in if you want to. I think for me, what I will say is I will say a lot of things. I think for me, the big thing with Cooper is that unfortunately, he is not getting the best out of his team. I think the total sum of all the parts is less than what it should be. I think that's the biggest problem. And I think, for example, it is fairly mental that we got 2 goals back from being 2-0 down. But if anything, that should show you is because we have actually got good players in the team and there's something there. It's not a case where this sometimes happened in that Great Escape season where it just looked like, you know what, we're playing well, but we just don't really have the team to stay up in this division. That is what's so frustrating about this season. I think we absolutely do have the team and squad to stay in the division, but it's sort of being sabotaged and we're not going good. And, you know, someone's put here that, Cooper is under big pressure. Here we go, Thomas. Yeah, this massively ramps up the pressure on Cooper now. 7 games without a win. Everton won today. Players not convinced of roles of position. Stupid subs. Board looking to resolve manager loyalty. I can't really disagree with anything that he said there. And I don't think it bodes well. And I think it does. It really does have loss to Bournemouth and managerial change early into the season written all over it, doesn't it? Given that other teams will probably be looking to change manager. Yeah.
However, today's result isn't the one that's going to lose Steve Cooper's job. It's the next 4 games. So you're looking at the fixtures we've got coming up. I don't know if you've got them up, but we're going to be looking at Bournemouth, Southampton, Nottingham Forest, and Ipswich. Looking at those games, they are players around. They are teams around us. Again, Nottingham Forest aren't in this position at the moment. But let's be honest, for the rest of the season going forward, Nottingham Forest will be down in the bottom half, in the 10th and below. However, looking at those again, those fixtures, they are the bits that, in my opinion, should lose Steve Cooper's job if he is going to go, because that's the ones we need. Again, Manchester United, I know they're terrible. If you saw the 20 game, oh my god, the run that player made, that was hilarious. But this is where Steve Cooper isn't going to is going to lose his job, basically, because we've all said.
So can I just interrupt you? This comment is making me crease up. At least we've been consistent with last season. We spent most of our time in our own half. The difference is last season we had possession of the ball.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah, but we're not.
Scott, you assassin! Absolute.
But we didn't have we've not had possession really. So again, this is what's going to lose Steve Cooper his job. Bournemouth, Southampton, Nottingham Forest, Ipswich.
Yeah. I think if we're in a bottom 3 after that, they'll change the manager. Anyway, look.
Go. And I don't have faith in I might be completely wrong about this. I don't have faith that he will go after these games. I think top is too soft in my opinion. However, that might be different now because of the fact we're not getting the points deduction, because that was always a saving grace for Steve Cooper. The fact that, well, I couldn't have done anything because you had a points deduction. I couldn't have done anything. Now it's all on the players and Steve Cooper.
Yeah, I tell you what, actually, this is a good point from Diego that the Southampton one will be interesting, because if we lost that match after having a 9-1 aggregate score against them last season, if there wasn't any doubt beforehand, I think the thing is, though, is after the Bournemouth game, there's actually an international break, which will give you a window to make a managerial change. We'll have to follow what happens with the Wolves game, because Graham Potter, I don't know if you've seen, but he's basically shopping himself around now, which is very interesting. Chips agree with you. Top is too soft. He's not half the man his dad is. I would agree. I think it's kind of understandable, though. Like, if you're someone that grew up in luxury and wealth and not really having to struggle, it doesn't matter how well educated you are. You're not going to be from the streets, which is like what Vichai was. But look, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much. So many people, over 100 joining the chat. It's been a pleasure with you always. All in all, what an epic game. Somehow from 2-0 down, we get ourselves back to 2-2, but Leicester managed to conspire to give it away right at the end with 2 goals in injury time. Arsenal take it 4-2. Bit of a tough one to take. Maybe, though, the XG kind of says we got what we deserve. Thank you so much. This has been for Fox 8 TV. Please also like and subscribe not only to myself, but Neil at Beyond the 90 LCFC and Luke at Leicester City Down Under. Thanks once again, if he's still here, to Locks at Blue Tinted Glasses. You probably knew the Blue Tinted Glasses on if you're still in the Cooper in camp, in my opinion. And with that kind of very raucous comment, I'll leave it there. Thank you so much. Take care and see you next time. Bye-bye.